Goodbye and unwelcome to another segment of the Jake Dom audiobook, episode 0.1.
Wait a minute. Welcome to DomJake Podcast Episode 10. I'm confused right now.
There may or may not be a reason why I decided to do it that way. Well, I said the opposite of what I meant to say. So, Dom, I only mentioned a little bit about my idea earlier to you and nothing more. Well, I'm gonna correct that because we have recorded an entire episode of this. However, the audio was garbled probably like a year or a little less than a year ago. So,
Yeah, it went the
yes,
opposite of how we expected it to be.
which is pretty much on theme. So this little acting segment in the start of this technically is not original, but we waited long enough that we could probably get some different perspectives on this since 8 months about has definitely passed since we tried this last time. Well, as you may have surmised, the theme of this episode is what would the world look like if everything was the opposite of what it is? This one will flex our theoretical minds, creativity, and more. This is one of those theoretical questions that everyone answers a little bit differently, and in addition, everyone kind of dives into bits and pieces. Genuine question here, Dom. How many times have you seen those if you were born the opposite gender, or if you were born as an animal, what would you be, etc.?
At least plenty of times in my life I've probably seen something like that, whatever.
Especially more so now than 8 months ago, because you've probably had a few months to look at another BuzzFeed article or something that dives into that.
Yeah, well, in the past 20 years, whatever we're talking about, it's become more and more common.
Right. Personally, I've seen that sort of thing many times myself, but it got me to wonder if anybody has wondered if everything was the opposite. So, Dom, are you ready to dive into the universe with everything as the opposite?
Yes, sir, I am. I'm curious as to what this opposite world will be. Last time I checked, looks like today's opposite.
Is it actually the opposite?
I guess it is.
I guess it is now. All right.
What if, like, how we eat, like, pork, beef, chicken? What if we were the animals being slaughtered and then they were eating us?
Oh, oh boy. Yeah, what if we were the ones who were on the farms? Well,
Yeah.
not being the farmers, but being the farmed.
Yeah. And if so, what would we be fed? Fish in the pond? Not
Well,
sure.
that's interesting too, because there are hydroponic farms already. Would would they submerge human beings underwater and have like a hydroponic farm for people?
Well,
In addition,
I have no idea. Like, well, we're not. I don't think we'll be the ones eating, like grains and grass like the cows and pigs do. So I guess the only thing I could see close to us eating something is like fish that are raw.
oh, raw food. I
Just like
mean, hmm.
just like how bears catch fish with their mouths. Will we be doing that?
Yeah, I mean, right now, if
If
it's not opposite, right now,
if it
the
no,
average person would not be able to do that. However, in the opposite land, that potentially could be a possibility.
mm, and and also if we're in the opposite, we're gonna kind of go back to when we were cavemen and like like the pigs are raising us, cavemen. We don't have the and like all those animals they have everything we have, but we're just have we don't know how to use like a phone, so we're just rolling in the mud and sit. I think I'm thinking too deep into this.
It's literally Zootopia. However, every single zoo is filled with different people, and there are wild humans instead of civilized, right? And then
Hmm.
sometimes you can have house humans instead of like house pets, right?
Yep,
Uh,
pretty
that'd
much.
be an interesting
It's like a furry
interesting
convention.
world.
So, since we spoke about this in like episode 8, since we talked about artificial intelligence, what if they were the ones creating us?
Interesting. Elaborate.
I don't know. So, like the robots, you know how robots take over the world? There's no
Right.
such thing as humans.
Okay.
It's the whole like the planet's all full of robots, and then they're the ones trying to create a humans. I'm like, oh, since we need something. So the whole world's like AI. So what if they created humans that can like think naturally instead of a computer, like a
Right.
whole analog intelligence?
And their whole strive is to be like imperfect, right?
Yeah,
It's like they're already a perfect society, so who knows? Maybe they found a way to create a human that can't, you know, build a house in 2 minutes, something
yeah.
like that.
Instead of like making chips on a conveyor belt, why don't we just make them by hand on on like in a skillet made out of
And
wood?
and those chips might not taste really great at all.
Nope, there's
And
no specific measurements.
that's something because it's like, oh, if they're perfect, well, humans might not make the perfect chips or the perfect dips.
Mm-mm,
So
so
we can dive into that stuff in detail a little bit later. But I'd like to start with one thing in specific. That's if we take the definition of opposite, find the antonym, and that makes opposite technically mean the same. In this scenario, for example, the opposite of a banana is a banana. If everything was the opposite, would anything really be?
I guess so. I mean, the opposite of a banana is a banana. So, like, well, the opposite of an apple would be an apple, huh? That's interesting. That's a lot. That's a lot of brain power to be thinking about.
It definitely is a little bit of a brain power type of scenario, at least with this opposite world. So I'm perfectly fine to drop that off, drop that right now. But it was definitely a thing that I thought of. Oh, well, if you go so far down that opposite rabbit hole, technically you get the same. Like let's talk about this, right? You're familiar with the color wheel
Yes, I am.
and how it's, let's say red can be on the top, but way at the bottom is green, because red and green are opposite colors. Same thing with purple and yellow, and
So,
orange
so,
and blue.
so, what if we had an orange that was blue and we just called it blue? And we had an apple that's green. So, well, hey, it's a Granny Smith apple. That's literally what it
So,
would be.
huh, in the world of everything being the same, if it's the opposite, well, let's just take red and green as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Red, you got the color red.
Yes, thinking about that.
We we've already established that the opposite of opposite is the same. So if that is opposite, then you take that red is it green now or is it still red?
The opposite of an opposite is the same. So like, wouldn't it still be red, or would it still
In
be?
this scenario, it would still be red. However, if we drop if we drop the concept of same and opposite, if we eliminate that possibility, then that red would be green.
Mm-hmm.
Or heck, some different color that we haven't even seen yet because we don't have the specific vision to be able to see all of the colors that are out there. Hummingbirds, I believe, can see way more than we can.
Let's look at
And
the color wheel.
so the color wheel for them is probably way more diverse.
So yep, the
So yeah,
opposite of red is green. The opposite of blue is orange.
yes, and the opposite of purple is yellow, and black, white, gray is kind of just gray, or is that brown, or is it right? Like,
Who the hell knows? I have
who the
no
hell
idea.
knows? We're not doing the art episode, which who knows? We might even do that sometime.
Mhm.
Probably not soon, but yeah, we might do an art episode. Who knows? All right. Next topic will be the universe and how the space border, since currently it's unknown, would be known. Space travel possibly being an easy thing, but Earth might not be livable anymore in this different opposite world. We're not thinking of opposites being the same. That we're scrapping for this little thing. Space travel is very easy, but walking might be the hardest thing ever, or sitting down might be the hardest thing ever, right?
Good guy. I can. So space travel. So we were. Would we have to buy legs in order to walk for like $1 million? How can we? How can we even go any? If we just.
That's that's something I didn't think about, but the focus right now is let's imagine the unknown. We don't know what the edge of space looks like because, well, it'll take so long for human life to even get to that point. It'll take so long for artificial life to even get to that point. Send a rocket ship that supposedly it has enough rocket power to last literally forever. Would it hit a wall like 500,000 billion jillion light years away? Or would it just literally keep on going forever and ever and ever and ever?
It will likely just keep going.
It will likely keep going. That's what you think, though. You've never seen if there is a border or if there is literally and a large vastness, endless space.
Maybe Mr. Bob would answer that for us, but uh,
Possibly, I think I know what Mr. Bub you're telling me about too. But
ask Bob Light. Bob Light. Where he might
so,
know.
but the interesting thing, since we currently don't know what the edge is, or if there even is one, in this opposite world, we know that there's an edge, or we know that there is not an edge. The thing is, currently we don't have the ability, and I'm talking about the current world, not the opposite world. Since the current world does not know if there's a limit or if there's no
Mm-hmm. Like
limit. The opposite of that is we know it, but I don't know what it would be. But whatever it is right here, if there is a limit, there's no limit in the opposite world. So if there is no limit here, then there is a limit in the opposite.
Hmm.
I,
It's just this big black wall that we just that the rocket just crashes.
who knows? It might be a physical wall, or maybe it's like a mesh little outline where it's like if something tries to go through it, it'll
Just a
just
wall.
collapse into billions of pieces. If you fire a potato at a mesh fencing, since that potato could probably be very fast, it'll just get chunked up
It'll be
because
made.
it's so fast, and that speed is what cuts it. It's not that the wires are sharp exactly. It's just you hit it at the right exact moment. That's what I kind of think.
Well, it's definitely doesn't.
It,
There's no blades.
that's what I kind of think it is. I don't think it's like a continuous wall. I think it's like a mesh thing that like, oh, we're zooming our rocket ships into it, and it's turning into 5 million pieces because we went so fast into it.
Another thing is the what if the wall? What if this wall's just like a burning gas and it just like literally like melts it or destroys it?
Well, we might be living in a big star. Who knows? It's like
Or what if
it,
we're living in the Truman Show as well?
that's a different topic. Well, it might not be a different topic because if we move on from space, think about it. Currently, we think we are not being filmed,
Nope. I would.
other than by us doing like a podcast thing. Other
Or
than that,
bes-
we're
or
not being
yeah.
the opposite world.
Well,
Everyone is being filmed for
our,
people.
our whole life would pretty much be filmed, essentially. Just records you sleeping. You know.
And the only thing that isn't filmed, which you might think is normal life, is if people are acting on a set, but they're not being filmed.
Uh-huh. Uh, so like, I don't even know. Just trying to
You're,
think about it.
you're very tired right now, I can tell.
I'm very tired.
That's what it sounds like.
The opposite. Well, I would say I'm sort of the opposite of tired.
All right, we can keep that in now. If we are doing that Truman Show type of experience, all the movies are real, but real life is just a show or something.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah. So like, yes, like Step Brothers could be real, and I'm just a movie, pretty much.
And think about this one, like SpongeBob going to the movie theater to watch Us instead of us watching, I don't know, Sponge Out of Water in theaters in 2017.
Yeah, that would be them watching us and be like, oh yeah, I know who that is.
I wonder what other movies I've been in. Or is it just one movie where there's just me? Huh,
It could just be like 7 decade long movie, and then they're
right.
just going on with their lives, and the and also another thing to think about is this movie is like there's no time limit then unless that person's dead.
Uh,
They're like public. It's almost like going to public television, but in a theater.
that's weird. That one is a weird thought to think about.
And you know what's next? Like Timmy Turner's gonna like tune into like the life of me instead of watching his the Crash Nebula. He's watching the life of Dominic and Jacob.
Or just you or whatever. Because it could just be like your life movie.
Yeah,
but then tomorrow he might go to the same movie theater and watch My Life movie.
And then the next day, they can go to Theater 7 and watch Our Parents' Lives. You get
That's
it?
that's very interesting. It go on and on and on and on and on until, and this is morbid, until Timmy Turner dies.
Oh.
Then he, AJ, and Chester can't watch any movies anymore,
Mm-hmm.
even if we outlive.
Yeah, then they won't be. Yeah, we will probably outlive whoever that is. Yeah. Yeah,
Very interesting there.
so like what if instead of the water being, how we swim in the water, what if the water instead of being below us is on top?
If water was air and air was water,
Yep. Well, that'd be interesting.
it would be interesting. Like, so, huh? Would it be like a watery world where it's like you get to swim up to the surface, up to the ozone layer, and then be able to breathe in that pocket, or
Or I'm just thinking,
or would people live in like the core of the world or something?
or I think it's people are living like like above the ground, and but then like we all wearing like air helmets, but then once we go down, I guess we could take our helmets off. I don't know. It's crazy.
It is crazy, but that's part of the charm of this episode's idea. It's
Mm,
very crazy. Because like you think about the sharks or the whales that get beached on the sand, right?
yeah.
Think about that. They'll get beached,
Yeah.
and like 50,000 leagues under the sea.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to get beached on surface on the surface of the earth. They can get beached closer to the middle of the earth while they flourish and live on the surface or higher.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine, okay, the deepest part of the ocean would be the highest mountain,
That would
and
be.
where Everest is the lowest point of the water.
Mm-hmm.
So think about the ugly, well, the fascinating creatures, because I don't really want to call them ugly, of the deep sea.
So would
All
there
of those
be?
guys will be where the mountains are, and all of the mountain lions will be where the bottom of the seas are.
Well, yeah, the sea lions. They're just
Holy crap! Thinking about that, shipwrecks.
shipwrecks.
You might be able to look up and you just see, oh, there's that wooden ship that crashed 50 years ago. I found it. It's right above me. See it. It's in the sky.
This is.
Because, huh? Because in your water is air and air is water world.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to shift it a little bit so then the water is super clear and the air is, watery, whether it's clear or whether it's blue, whether it's green, or whether it's orange because it could be tinted with rust. So that just means you look up and you'll see all of these all of these shipwrecks, all of these litter that are on the floor. Well, the
Oh,
floor would be the ceiling of this world. That wow, I think that would just be. I'm gonna say it. That'd just be beautiful.
be
Well, looking at
interesting.
looking at the sky and seeing, you know, jellyfish flying in a clear sky, which isn't a sky, it's water, and then seeing, coral that's growing at sunset or sunrise. That
Yep,
would be. I haven't seen Avatar 2, but that's what I imagine. Like the water world is pretty much like.
it's, it was a crazy movie.
It's a
Well,
crazy movie, but without spoiling because I didn't see it at
I
all. But would that visual kind of match what that movie has?
it's the closest match I could say. Not super accurate, but it's the closest you could probably get to that.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, think we've think we've used a lot of our brain power
I think
for
we
this.
have used a lot of our brain power. Um, how about this? Yes, we're going to do some interactive things. If you were the opposite, okay, the top 10, I believe they're 10, right? The top 10 things on Google right now, or at least for me, if you were the opposite gender for a day, if you were the opposite gender quiz, if you were the opposite gender, what would you do? If you were given the opportunity to watch a theatrical play, I don't, okay, it's because I, opportunity opposite. I'm going to finish saying opposite, okay? Gender for a day, gender quiz, gender, what would
Froze.
you do? Reddit, if you were the opposite gender for a day. If you are given the opposite side in hypotenuse, what if you were the opposite of your zodiac sign? Celebrities, if they were the opposite gender. If you are headed in the opposite direction, what would your name be if you were the? A lot of this is opposite gender, so I guess we could dive into what we would be if
So
we're
ah
we're in a world where everything else is the same.
no.
Everything else is the same. The room you are sitting in looks the exact same. It's just you are the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that one. We both went back and forth answering some uncomfortable questions earlier, so we had to cut that huge part out.
Yeah, we did. Well, we had some technical issues behind the scenes, so we pretty much decided to scrap a lot of that out.
And
So
some of the questions were uncomfortable, but some of them weren't. Uh, so why didn't we end up keeping those in? Well, I mean, one, why keep the whole, why keep, 4 out of 10 questions, or why keep some of it if we're not going to do the whole? That's kind of the general thinking that I had. It's just better to keep none of it than try to staple together some questionable audios.
mhm.
Um, so
and
that's
don't
pretty
want
much
to
why.
and don't want to make it seem too edited, but yeah, we decided okay, let's just get rid of it.
Yeah, honestly, I went back and forth with my co-host over here.
Yep,
Um,
that's me.
yeah, this one, not the other one. No.
Nope.
But yeah, I went back and forth, basically explaining we have some audio issues, and you're also a little bit uncomfortable with some of the questions, so kind of two birds, one stone. We just decide, hey, cut it out. It's it's not really worth it if some of it was usable, not all of it.
I don't know, even if I was comfortable, it's probably not going to be usable.
Honestly, even if both of us were comfortable with those questions and scenarios and explanations and whatnot, what forth, um, the audio was also the issue. So that's a big
Yeah.
old bummer there.
Yep.
But
That was pretty
maybe it's a
much.
bummer. Maybe it's a bummer wrapped in a golden bow. Maybe there's a good part of that.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Well, I mean, hey, we had the opposite outcome of what we expected, but hey, maybe it's the whole theme of the episode. Maybe it's a good thing.
It's on theme.
Yeah,
They went the opposite of how we expected.
yeah. Pretty much the audio itself kind of contributed. So yeah,
But still, we apologize for leaving out some entertaining bits.
and yes, I apologize to everybody as well for not. In case you guys got your hopes up, well, I apologize for crashing them down.
It just means our episode's going to be a
Longer.
little a little shorter than usual.
Yeah, doesn't have. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be a little short, but hey, we'll have longer ones soon.
Yes, anyway, back to the past versions of us to probably wrap up this whole episode,
Uh,
depending on where I put this in the editing. Who knows? Maybe I make this the intro. I'm not gonna make this the intro. All right.
no.
The next two voices you will hear are the past versions of us. All right, that's it. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We have 10 questions and prompts. And the interesting part is, I think I might be able to make, how do I put this? Make a visual representation of these characters.
I think I have an idea of what I would look like already.
Possibly. All
Oh,
right.
well, I'm sure some. Are you gonna actually make that the thumbnail?
uh, not this one.
Like that thing is like,
Not
oh,
this one. We might do something later with those characters, but not this one.
whoop. All right. Well, thank you all for not listening to our podcast, and it's definitely have not been a pleasure in the slightest. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm just joking, everybody. All right. Please don't pull out your pitchforks. I'm just in the opposite mood, you know? And also, yeah, thank you for listening, actually.
And once again, I have been your host, Dom.
And I'm the other host, Jake, from State Farm. Hope to not see you again in the next episode, which will definitely never be uploaded in the coming days. Hello!
Salutations.